Welcome back to the Overcoming Self Sabotage Summit. I'm your host, Nicole Borghi, and I am here today with my mentor, Beverly Zeimet. Hey, Beverly, welcome to the summit.
Oh gosh, it's such an honor to be here. It's always an honor to be around you. I'll tell you, you're such a special spirit that has come into my life, and whew, you ain't gonna get out of it ever. We've had so much fun together over the years. It's a blessing how spirit comes together, and introduces us to people. This whole past year, we are now into 2021, and with this Sabotage Smasher Summit that you put together, I'm so honored to be a part of that. When you look at what's going on and we look at sabotaging from 2020, which you're leaving behind us, right?
Yeah.
It's forward movement at this point, and it's such an honor to be here on this show to be able to help others to take a look at what has gone on in that avenue of their past, to say, wow, let's really leave 2020 in the rearview mirror, right?
Huge. Hindsight is 2020, right?
Yes.
You can always look at the last year and say, hey, this is what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened, right?
Right.
And we don't want to go into this new year and armchair quarterback the game and say, hey, what we should have done. But, instead of that, we can utilize tools, tricks, modalities, a mentor and a coach to help us see the way, to lighten our path. And that's you, Beverly, definitely. I just want to say, without you, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have just been spinning my top, and you just stopped me and said, hey, enough.
Sometimes we need that slap, right? You mentioned something here about, looking at your past and regretting and saying, I coulda, I shoulda. Stop that chatter. That's the thing to recognize. Stop that chatter. That's part of that sabotaging. Because if you're spending time on thinking about the couldas and the shouldas and the regrets, you're wasting time of putting action into the now. And if you don't take action in the now, guess what? Next year is going to look like last year. Right? So, no, that's exactly right. So, stop what's not working and give something else a shot. Hey, and if it ain't work, stop and do something else. Right?
Right.
So, don't be hesitant to give something a try, shall we say. I hate that word try. Give yourself every experience possible knowing. If someone opens up a door of opportunity, jump. Well, if the jump didn't feel so good, jump back out of it and say, whew, ain't doing that one again. Get on to the next jump. But don't hesitate. Don't let one little error or injury or fear or, something that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to or where you expected it to, don't let that stop you. Because there's so much living to do out there. Just remember, if you're not living, you're what?
No, you're dying.
Yeah. And there's way too much living to do on this planet. There's so much beauty out there. When you can begin to recognize the beauty that surrounds you, it's a reflection of the beauty that lies within. And that's what this whole summit is all about, is to recognize the beauty within that you've been suppressing.
Huge.
So stop the suppression, start the discovery, right? Because when you begin to discover who you are, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of you. It doesn't matter what anybody else expects of you. It only matters what you expect of yourself. It only matters how you believe in yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you respond to what it is that is your belief. It's all about you. Right? It's all about you.
Well said. It is about you, your choice, and your decision.
Yeah.
But how do we get, when we are stuck in that cycle, we're stuck spinning like a top, out of control, or what we feel like is out of control.
Right.
Our life is out of control, that we can't get a grasp on anything. What do you tell people, or how do you share with people how to recognize the way out, how to kind of get that life raft, to get out of those treacherous waters?
Well, the first thing, obviously, you're recognizing that Houston, right, has a situation here that isn't healthy, that's not working for them. So rather than continuing that chatter and that talk and that thought processing, because the more energy that you give to that issue, the deeper and the bigger it gets. It just keeps on growing and growing and growing. Why? Because you're supporting it with more energy. So the first thing is to take recognition that there is an issue here because you're playing it, and then just say, whoa, stop. S-T-O-P. Stop. And say, is that working for me? Well, not so much. What is it that I could do that might possibly work a little bit better?
There you go.
There you go.
That's a great thought.
And then put energy into that thought. What is a fun thing that I could do right now instead of having all this old chatter stuff that's not doing me and serving me any purpose? What can I do to do something that's going to give me purpose, bring a little joy into my life? Oh, well, hey, I could go to a comedy show. Or maybe I could just turn on a sitcom. Or watch a movie that's going to be a fun movie. Not something that's going to, get you sobbing and crying. Because we want to uplift, right? We want to uplift.
Yeah.
Right? Or just, go outside and go for a run. Go out and smell nature, feel nature, see nature, breathe in the air, right? Take your headset. We have all this equipment now in these little teeny squares. Put on some music that's gonna, get you moving, right? Get your body exercising. If anybody that knows me, how many times have you been around me where I was just like, in no movement, in no motion?
You're always moving.
Exactly.
Energy, you just work with that energy and you just bring it in and you move with it and you just kind of dance with the energy around you and you just expel energy to others to share in that momentum, because everybody in that environment, once they're uplifted, it just lifts everybody in the room, and it just is huge. It grows that light, that love, and that being, and it's you can't get enough of it, right? It's kind of addicting. You're like, whoa, how do I get that back?
And I hear this a lot from people. It's like, don't you ever slow down? How do you stay energized? It doesn't matter what time of day that I talk to you. You're just it's well, because there's so much energy out there to tap into, right? When you understand energy, and it takes so much work to stay angry or sad or in pain or in misery and the old chatter stuff. It really takes a lot of energy and effort to stay there. But when you're just like, God, the heck with that stuff, and you just go, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm over that, right? And just go out there and be happy, and be joyful, and start balancing and start breathing, changing your thought processes into something that's invigorating. You never run out of energy. It's impossible, because the universe has an unlimited amount of energy. All you gotta do is tap into it.
That's true, because energy never dies. Energy just moves into something else.
Yeah.
It just moves into a different form, or you pick it up somewhere else.
Yeah, so
good or bad energy. Yeah.
What do you want to ride on, right? A slow boat to China, or you want to ride on a rocket ship to the moon? Yeah, that's your choice.
I'll take the rocket. How did you get to this point? Beverly, have you always been so joyful, so kinetic, so connected, so willing to share with everybody your joy?
I would have to say probably, as a child, I was that way. I was always the one that was out front. I always seemed I had to prove everything to everybody. So I was always, just really hammering at it. Was I always this happy-go-lucky, no, not so much. But, I had a way of turning the tables. I was small. So I got picked on all the time. I haven't really grown anything since 8th grade. I'm still the same size as I was in 8th grade. That was a long time ago. But, so as they say, dynamite comes in small packages. Well, I just learned how to light the fuse, a little bit later in life. But again, we all reach a certain, I think, avenue in our lives where we make these major shifts and stuff. And being an intuitive as a child, knowing things that I didn't know how I knew them, but I utilized them. I was an extrovert, and then when I started school, I became an introvert because I got teased a lot and picked on, and so I grew up fighting, and just being in that all the time. Then I started using, hey, I could instigate this. This is a good way to get even. Now I use it as strategy, right? But it kept that instinct alive. So I have to be grateful for that. Nobody got hurt, right?
Right.
I never got in trouble because I could always leave before we got found out by either mom and dad or teachers or whatever the case may be, right? But then I could sit back and say, gotcha, right? But so yeah, I still have that little deviousness, that I don't think that'll ever go away. But there was a point in my life when I made a choice, and it all stemmed from anger, where I didn't like being told what to do. And now I was out of school, I was working in Des Moines. I came home for the weekend, and oh my God, my mom and I got in this massive fight. And I said probably things I shouldn't have said, but I did. And I left in this heat of anger, and I went and I ended up spending the night with my then boyfriend, right? And well, one thing led to another, and guess what? I had sex that night for the first time, and the result of that was my first child, right? So yes, it does happen on the first time, right? And that kind of started a different avenue in my life, because now I had a different responsibility here, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. There were so many mixed things going on. And so it took me almost 5 months into this pregnancy before I even mentioned it to my parents, right? And the first thing my mom says to me, you don't have to get married. Oh, well, what was I going to do, right? You see, that's that little rebel, right? Not being, not being, being told what to do. And so I ended up getting married. I had sex 2 more times. I had 2 more kids. I said, I am not following in my mother's footsteps. She had 11 of us, okay? Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, that's not working so good here. This sex thing is overrated,
Again, it's a choice.
That was a choice, that's right. But during those first 4 years of my marriage, I had totally lost my identity. And I needed to be in that space to be where I am today. And so there was a lot of lessons in this journey, and there was challenging. It put me to the edge of suicide.
Oh.
Right? So in 1974, with 3 kids under the age of 5, I was not living my dream. I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing, what my choices were, all these things. And it's like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. And, divorce wasn't as acceptable as suicide. I know that's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow.
But you know, religion is religion, beliefs are beliefs, right? Now this is, we're talking about the 70s, right? And it's like, wow. But I went for a walk to decide how I was going to exit the planet. Well, my higher consciousness and God had a different role for me, right? So after I just started, I released the angers. I had so much anger, Nicole. Oh my gosh, you talked about anger and the self-sabotaging. Yeah, well, exactly, right there beside you, sister. But I just exploded with this anger to the point of total exhaustion. Total exhaustion, right? And then I hear this voice saying, well, who's going to take care of your kids if you're not here?
Right.
That's a reality check. And it's like, are you kidding me? They're all on the age of 5.
Wow.
I got to be here for this long? Fine. Okay, then it's let's make a deal time, right? It's like, so, you know, here we go. Let's make a deal, right? And so I gave him this list of I wanted out of my dead-end marriage because there really wasn't love there. I wanted out of Iowa. I wanted, you know, all of these. I had a list 3 miles long. And I says,
wow.
So there, what do you say to that? And the voice just says, okay. I'm like, okay. You just say, okay. What the hell does that mean? Now, you have to remember, in the 70s, in the Midwest, there was nothing like there is today when it comes to coaches and spiritual things and understanding of energy. None of that was even a thought, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, and so some of the messages that I was getting, you know, and then the voices to me, start living your life for you and your kids. That I could do. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll do that, right? I'll do that. And so I did, and then it was progression. It was mind over matter. Well, I had no clue what mind over matter was, but I really started paying attention to that voice, and we all have that voice. Now that voice can come in many forms. It can come in forms of direction and guidance that are going to give us, you know, our answers to move forward, or that voice can give us, you know, everything that spirals into the abyss.
It can be deceptive if you're not listening to it.
So which voice are you listening to? Are you listening to your little angel, or are you listening to your little devil?
Okay? Oh, huge, yeah. Which one? Which one's talking to you?
That's right. Yeah, and both of those voices are yours.
Huge.
They are
That's
you.
Huge.
They're you. So are you sabotaging yourself and moving into the abyss? Or are you smashing the sabotager and say, I ain't paying attention to you no more. You got me in this kind of trouble. Forget that crap. It's my turn, right? And you start moving forward. You know, so once I started really getting my act together, because I did. I needed to find out who I was and get my identity back.
Oh, discovery.
Right.
Self-discovery.
Oh, my gosh. You know, sometimes it's not so good looking at yourself. Right?
Hard.
And some of the things that you see and you experience. But this is what makes you who you are. It makes you that individual being, that snowflake. Right?
Yeah.
And when you can discover who you are, all of a sudden it's like night and day. Poof! Here you are. Now you can become Beverly here. You can become just like this and be full of energy and full of life, but know your identity. Really know your identity. And that's one of the things that I chose as my profession, was to help people understand and be able to find their identity a lot faster than I did, with a lot of little, you know, secrets that really aren't secrets when you know them. They're the simplicity things. But if you don't put them into action, that old database, that old self-sabotaging voice is going to bite you in the butt every single time. Every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. And you know, you got to make another appointment for the doctors again, you feel like sometimes, right? Because it's painful.
Oh, gosh,
we take it in. We take it in.
Right.
It's that, but truly, it's that passionate action. That when you take that action, you bring the momentum with it. And you just keep moving forward, and you just keep going, and you move forward, and you feel this strength. It's like this whole team behind you. When you have somebody like a coach or a mentor, a teacher, somebody to support you, bring your water on your 5K.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Here we go. Water, right?
Bring somebody with you. You have somebody watching out for you, looking out for you and guiding you on the path, the simple path. Because we have made things so difficult and so hard that we just don't even want to do it. We just give it up.
Well, that's part of that old programming that gets kind of beat into our heads. If it's not hard work, it's not worth doing, and it's not worth getting the results for. If you didn't put all this energy in, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, what? Right? It doesn't have to be that way. Again, we have choice. We can make life easy, or we can make life hard. We can make life fun, or we can make life miserable. What side of the fence are you on? I wrote a book on that. What side of the fence are you on? Oh, I tell you what, I'm on this side of the fence. If you want to come on this side of the fence, hey, just jump the fence. Right?
Make a decision. Discern.
Make a decision.
But discern and make the choice. Discern where you're at. Detach from that program, and see the bounty on the other side that is truly yours. And that is there for you, but you put the wall right there, right?
And don't let that little sabotage say, well, you're not worthy of it, you're not deserving of it, who the heck do you think you are, you're not good enough for stuff like that. Ah, who are you listening to? That's your self-talking, nobody else. Right? So that's where you need to recognize, right? If you're going to make that choice to get to the other side of the fence, pay attention when that voice is telling you what to or what not to, or that's part of that doubt, that you don't believe in yourself, you don't trust in yourself, you don't love yourself. You have lost the identity of who you are. You've lost the soul essence of who you are. There's been a disconnect in the energies of the soul connection. Because we are a spiritual, mental, emotional bodies before we end up in a physical body. Right? So this physical avatar has a connection to your emotional being, to your mental thoughts, to the soul direction of all the soul has is the mind. Right? It has all of the information that is necessary for you to be all that you are. Yeah. It has all that memory, and it's trying to bring it in. It's just that you're not paying attention, right? So when you're in these thoughts that are running this old pattern of going to the abyss, it doesn't make space for the other information that's going to spiral you up into the ecstasy without drugs. Okay, without drugs, right? Just want to say that, without drugs. No, I'm not high on anything, just energy, right? And begin to associate that. So now that information, that truth from your soul can take space in your brain, because you can move the old programming, that old database that has been instilled in us from time of conception, right? From everything we've experienced. Because we reach that point in our life where we make our choices. We make our choices even, when we decide to be conceived. We made that choice. That was the first choice. Oh, see them two people down there? I'm going to go see what I can do to their life. Right? Little did we forget, what are they going to do to ours, right? And it should be an influence, on both sides, and a growing. And it is a growing. Are you growing this way? Are you growing this way? So remembering the choices that we had, right? And watch a child, watch a little kid when they're, learning how to crawl, when they're learning how to walk, when they're learning how to talk and climb. They have no fear. Fear is taught. Fear is taught, right? And they don't understand that word no is not in their vocabulary until you program it into them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're making choices in every activity that they do is a choice. They don't stop and think, oh, well, let's see. If I climb on top of this, and then I just go over the edge, everything's going to be all right. And then boom, it's like, oh, it hurt, right? You know? Well, we do that to ourselves. We continue to do that to ourselves as an adult, right? So, again, it's learning caution. It's not learning fear. It's learning caution, right?
Well, that's right, because when you bump your head, you're not going to do it again. It's a self-correcting error. You won't do that one more time as a child. But we get told just not to do it.
Right.
You know, and somebody comes in and kind of saves us in a sense from ourselves. But sometimes we need to experience and learn and do and grow on our own and not be stuck in that earthly meat suit that we've come into, and know that we are humans having an experience. You know, we are definitely spiritual beings having a human experience, but we are not animals. And we've come with a different mindset, a different cell makeup, different DNA, and we are able to program those different particles within our mind and turn it on,
right,
and repurpose and reprogram. But definitely, like you said, get rid of, defrag that old stuff. Defrag it and upgrade. You've got to upgrade your system, just like your phone, just like your computer. You've got to upgrade it.
Well,
How
your
would you
brain
suggest to people that they do that?
Well, yeah, well, first off, I like the analogy, you know, to upgrade. You know, you have to look at your brain as being the computer of what your physical avatar is going to do. Every activity that it does, every dysfunction or every healthy function that's going on within the essence of this avatar physical being that we are. Okay? So that is by choice. That's by what the brain and what you have fed it. Right? So it's a thought processing. It's your mindset. So when you want to reset that brain, you have to take out the information that no longer serves purpose, transmute it. Okay, now listen to what your soul essence is saying, and the information coming, you know, from the universal database of knowledge that fits into what it is that you want to accomplish here, and program that, feed that into the brain, and then the brain can send it messages through the body. You know, so everything is a vibration. Every organ in your body resonates at a certain vibration. Love, if you feed it love, resonates at a certain vibration, and love is very healing, right? Joy is even stronger, right? Gratitude, you know, so if you're feeding all of these healthy vibrations into your body, it's going to respond and function and feel good. But if you're adding a lot of shame and blame and anger and frustrations and depression and, you know, all of that muck, well, it's going to slow down the vibration of your physical essence, of this physical avatar. And pretty soon things are going to start to get distorted and run amok. You know, so the anger that you feel towards someone else, that you hold responsible, that you blame them for you being angry, and you're not able to say it out because you don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever excuse you come up with, right? Right? Is like not hurting them. You think by not talking to them or not being involved with what they're doing or any of these activities that you're going to hurt them, you're hurting yourself.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right? So that you talk about the sabotage. That's part of your sabotaging of keeping this avatar running at a high elevation of healthy activity. But when you're feeding it unhealthy actions and feelings and emotions and everything, it's going to break down. That's the law. Yeah. That's the law of vibration. And again, we go back into that choice. Are you listening to the little sabotage voice, or are you listening to your little guidance, your little happy voice? It's okay.
Yeah.
But know what it is. You are responsible for that. You can blame everybody else you want. Lie to the world. This is what I tell my clients, right? Lie to the world. Continue to lie to the world. But you better stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you believe that lie, that old story, those stories that we've planted are so distorted. And they're distorted. Why? Because we had to create them in a manner in which we could adjust to them. They make them believable to us, make them what we wanted that reality to be, so people could do what? Either feel sorry for us, or do things for whatever your reason was for it, right? And it's your story, okay? But do you have to live and die by it? Well, that's your choice. Right?
You're writing your own story. You're scripting your own story.
Yeah.
You are making it what you want it to be.
Your truth.
But that's your truth at the moment. But when you recognize it, and you teach people to recognize the real truth, the naked truth, the authentic truth of you, what's really in your heart, then can you imagine taking all that energy of the negativity and kind of just repurposing it and changing it around?
Right.
And now you're making decisions of joy and creation, and you're winning. You're getting self-worth, self-confidence, empowerment, transformation. Right. It's so much easier.
It is. It's so much more fun, right? It's great to be happy and joyful and exciting and investigating, trying new things, and going on different adventures. That's what life is all about. There's so much beauty in the world, and there's so much beauty you need to let shine from within, right? But if you want to spend it in the misery, that's your choice. Yeah. So you have to remember, you wrote the story, and if the story isn't a comfortable story, change it. You can change that story, make it whatever you want, right?
What do you tell people when they want to change it, but they don't know how? What kind of tools do you keep in your repertoire that you share? What kind of modalities do you share with them to elevate that emotional state?
Oh gosh. Well, first off, again, we go back into that recognizing that we want to make a shift and a change, right? Right. Because we have to recognize that this is something, obviously, that we don't want to continue because it's no longer serving its purpose in the manner in which we want, right? So it's like, let's jump into the pretend world. We talk about different realities, interdimensional walking, meditation, virtual reality, computer, address things. So many things are realities. So your story that you're bringing with you, and each chapter you add, is a different reality, right? So start a new chapter and start by pretending, because sometimes, to visualize something or to recognize that you have to get the vision changed isn't quite comfortable. Mm-hmm. But everybody can pretend. We can always pretend. That is an acceptable thing. And this is why the world of avatars is very acceptable. Mm-hmm. Right? So the gaming industry and storybooks, we learn by, listening to animals say our ABCs and the trees saying the ABCs, So everything in animation is a safe zone, 100% acceptable, which is what? It's part of that pretend world. So when you can say, okay, let's just pretend. Let's pretend this chapter of your story started out like this, started to have all of these things, and then the outcome ended over here. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of that chapter. So let's say that chapter, started, let's use my life as an instance, right? So my chapter started over here where I was single, right? and I was playing this little rebel piece, and you know what, all of that, right? That was the story. Well, you know what? I'm going to change that. So now I'm going to be the little angel, right? I am going to see what I can do differently instead of living in that anger and that don't tell me what to do. And I'm going to pay attention. Okay, what are the suggestions that, you know, would help me maybe move through this challenge that I have?
Right.
Oh, okay, that's an option and that's an option. So now I have different options, and now I can weigh the odds on those options. Like, you know, like you were saying earlier before the show, we were talking as to if you're driving down a road. Do you want to go straight? You want to go left, or you want to go right? Right? You know, and so it's like, wow, I've got some options. Okay, all right, I think I'll try this option. And so I go there, and it's like, okay, this is working, and then all of a sudden it's like it stopped working. Well, maybe I'll go this direction and see if there's something I can pick up over here. So now I'm changing that story. So let's say we're in the bed of the story where it took me being this rebel, right? It took me into this 4 years of hell, you know, in this dead-end marriage and everything. The great things that come out of it was my children, right? I don't want to change that part of the story, right? But everything else. So how do I change that story? Okay, I'm going to make it a happy fairy tale, you know, so the princess can live happy ever after. Okay?
Oh, there you go.
So,
I like that one better.
There you go. So now you're telling your story, you know, that, wow, you had these 3 beautiful children, and you took them on this journey with you, and this is where you went, and you traveled, and you saw this, and you saw that, and you moved here, and you moved there. All of these fun things, right? You took them for a hike. You took them on a boat ride. You did, you know, all those fun things, right? Oh, so that's much better. Now I'm paying attention over here, okay? And I'm making life easier, and I don't have all this anger, and I'm living, you know, wow, the good life. And I have my 3 children, and we're having fun. We're growing together. We're making adventures throughout the country. You know, we're starting our own business. This is awesome, right? And then what's the outcome? Oh, the outcome is, oh, wow, we find someone that's going to come into our life, that's going to fulfill, you know, the 3 of us. It's not just mom and 3 kids, right? Now it's mom and dad and kids. Now we're a unit working together, someone that is loving the children that I brought onto the planet as his own. Wow, this is fun, you know. So you can change every event in your life the way you want it. Go back and rewrite those chapters, or better yet, burn the freaking book and start a new one.
That's it. Because once you purge, if you get all that nastiness out and you put it to paper and you burn it, you're just sending it out to the universe and letting it go. You're freeing yourself.
Exactly. Oh, when you, in that word you just said, freeing yourself. The freedom that you have and that you feel. And I'll share the last piece of my journey when I uplifted my kids from Iowa, and we jumped in our little AMC Spirit with the clothes on her back, and we drove to Denver, Colorado. I mean, you talk about extremes, right? Woo! That was an extreme. I filed for divorce, you know, and in the state of Colorado, you had to be here X amount of months first. Okay, fine. And then you can file, and then they say now you have to wait 90 days in case you can repair. Right. Well,
90 days.
90 days. I was counting them down, checking them off, right? And then when I got the decree signed, you know, and the thing that meant most to me when I talked about earlier about your identity, you know, is the judge asked me, is there anything you want in this decree before I sign off on it? And I said, I want my maiden name back.
Wow, yeah.
And I took my maiden name back. That was one of the major aha moments in my life when you talk about freedom. Because for me, my birth name is who I am. And when I left that courtroom, and again, I don't know why courthouses have all these stairs, but they do. But maybe this is to give that feeling, of what just transpired, inside.
Mhm.
But with every step that I walked down those stairs, I felt more empowered and more
Wow.
free, because now I was, once again, I was
Ooh.
Beverly Zeimet. I had all of my power back. I'm free, right?
Huge.
Oh
Huge.
my gosh, it was just, these are the aha moments in life that you can create when you shut down the sabotage, when you smash that sabotage voice, and you really start looking and believing in the truth of who you are, and not in the false things that you led yourself to believe. Because that's what it boils
Yes.
down to.
Yep.
You programmed yourself by events, what other people said. It doesn't matter. Always go back to that. It doesn't matter what other people think about you. It matters what you think about you. And actions speak louder than words. So talk all you want. If you don't walk your talk, you don't become that way. So you want energy like this? You want to be out there and you want to be riding the waves? You want to be on that top of the surf? You want to be floating in the clouds?
Yeah.
You want that energy? Then smash that sabotage voice in there.
Woo.
Woo! Right? And there's so many easy ways of doing it now. I'll tell you, from 1974 to 2021, it's beyond night. It's like being in another lifetime, because
totally different.
Totally different. We have so many unique ways of overcoming that self-sabotaging and that self-destruction that weren't out there before.
Right. How do people find you, Beverly? We're ready to wrap it up. It has been such a beautiful conversation. I'd hate to end it because we could talk for hours.
Oh, yes, we could. Yeah.
We can talk for hours, and we want to empower people and heal people. But how do people find you, Beverly, and get with you?
Well, I'm all over the social medias. I can be found, under my name, Beverly Zeimet. And gosh, I think there's links all over this summit. I am going to give you my phone number, 303-359-2199. If you text the words, I should say the letters, if you text the letters RARRA, I will send you a little sheet on how you can smash that sabotager, right? And how you can start eliminating a lot of that old database of information. It's called the RARRA system, which is to recognize that Houston has an issue, acknowledge that issue has been your truth, and now you no longer want it to be your truth, and then you release it. And then once you've opened up the floodgates and created that void of all the garbage you just let go of, you want to replace it and fill that gap with all the beautiful things of the I am of who you are, and the expression and the identity of who you are, and then you just accept that. So it kind of goes over what each one of those are and how they work together and how you can incorporate that to start finding your identity, to start listening to the little ecstasy voice and start smashing that little sabotager, right? And start living on this side of the fence, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Joy, peace, harmony with yourself. Who could ask for anything more? And to create a life you desire, to overcome self-sabotage. Thank you for being here with us today, Beverly.
Thank you, Nicole. It's been an honor. So one last thing out there, everyone. It's time. 2021 is your year to smash your sabotager and be the snowflake that you are. Bye, everybody.
Declare it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Self Sabotage Summit, where we are going to talk a lot about what happens with self sabotage. My name is Beverly Zeimet, and I am your host today. My guest is Rachel West. Rachel, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Las Vegas today, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, it's great to have you here. So could you share with the audience a little bit about what exactly is it that Rachel does that's going to rock the world?
Yeah, so I'm a personal growth coach. I focus on mindset and mental health. I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy. I also volunteer at the Safe House here in Las Vegas. I'm a domestic violence victim advocate and a community health worker.
Wow. Now that's a mouthful.
That is.
That is amazing. All really, really awesome things that are necessary, especially with some of the crazy stuff going on in the world today, right?
Right.
So when we talk about self-sabotage, where does that tie in with the work that you do, or maybe with the background, that actually put you into all of the great things that you're doing to help people in your work?
The sabotage falls under the mental health. If we sabotage ourselves and we aren't even aware that it's going on, how can we smash it, or how can we improve on it? It's my belief that most of the time we aren't even aware that it's occurring. We have to have this awareness that it's going on. Specifically for me, before I started coaching, I had a graphic design business. And I thought that that was my life, and that's what I was going to do. And I had a really great partner, and I kept saying to myself, like, this is the year, it's gonna blow up, it's gonna happen. And for some reason, I couldn't figure it out. Me was sabotaging it from not working. And I realized later that that's because it really wasn't aligned with me and what I wanted to be doing with my life. It was kind of just a stepping stone to get me to where I wanted to go. But in the moment, I didn't realize that I was sabotaging myself for it to not work.
I think that happens with a lot of us, and we've all been there. And it's kind of interesting what you said, that self-sabotage actually went alongside of doing something that you weren't really passionate at. You liked it, it sounded good, right? But it
Right.
just, something was missing, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so go ahead and share a little bit how that played a role in you overcoming the self-sabotaging and just became a sabotage smasher, as we say on the show.
Yeah. So, I was that person that did with what society says or what your parents tell you that you need to do. So you graduate from high school and you go to college. That's the norm. That's what you do. So guess what? That's what I did. And at the time when I was 18, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I was going to community college just to go for the sake of going because I didn't want to be judged for not going. But guess what happened? I didn't go to class. I didn't do my homework, and I wasn't getting good grades, and I ended up just stopped going altogether. And my belief now is because I didn't have that focus. I didn't have that end goal or mission in mind to accomplish. It was like just going to go. And so then I thought that was my path. I decided graphic design was my path. And so I got my degree in graphic design. I started my own business. And I'm like, wow, this is great. I had a great partner. I thought that was my life. And I was like, no matter what happens, even if things change, I'm always going to have this business. It's my baby. That's what I believed. And I didn't realize that I wasn't aligned with it. And through that business and through networking, I learned about neuro-linguistic programming. And so my partner and I decided to study it for the communication side so that we could communicate we could linguistically craft our marketing messages to reach more people by speaking into their communication patterns and their communication styles. So that was why I got into neurolinguistic programming, and then just learning about myself and how I process information and how I was raised, and the limiting beliefs and the sabotage that was occurring in my life all became aware at this point. And I have family members who have addictions of various sorts: gambling, drugs, alcohol, self-harm. And so when I learned about the tools and the knowledge from neurolinguistic programming and timeline therapy, and that I could discover the root cause as to what's holding people back and preventing them from moving forward, whether that's in their addiction or their self-sabotage or their mind chatter. What is it that is preventing me from moving forward? Like in my graphic design business, I thought that was my life and I was excited about it, but for some reason it just wasn't working out the way that it was planned to work. And that sabotage came into my awareness. And once I realized that I wanted to be doing this to help people overcome that and move forward, I instantly got out of that. I was like, there's no more purpose for me to be investing my energy into this company that's not working for me because I'm not working for it. And so I started coaching, and I've had the best year just growing and healing myself. So it's been amazing.
That's remarkable. And sometimes it takes these major wake up calls, kind of like 2020, major wake up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's awesome that you paid attention, and you had a partner that wanted to get into the linguistics with you. Because communication, or the lack of communication, can create an impact on how we perform and in what we do. And like you said, you were doing the norm. You grow up, you graduate, you go to college, you do what, you're supposed to do, which I never understood that either, right? And it's like, okay. And it turns out, like you say, not aligning with one's true spirit of who they are, right? And so when we start looking at healing ourselves and really looking inward to find out, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? But who am I? Right? And finding that identity and that truth of who you are, then it's a lot easier to begin to recognize what my assets are, what my dreams are, what I want to specialize in, where do I want to be in my life, and all of these things. Then it's easier to recognize what? The sabotaging moments, those old programmings, like you said, addictions, right? So that old database of information just starts playing and just starts, talking to you unconsciously because it's been there like forever. Some of it's in our DNA. So to be able to wake up and pay attention to that is probably one of the biggest struggles that most people go through. So when that started happening with you, was the turning point at the time you went into NLP, or was it during the NLP processing that the awakening happened for you?
It was during the NLP processing. So when I first started studying it, I studied it and got my master's over the course of 2 years. So the first year was kind of like my awareness to NLP and communicating with myself and listening to my intuition, which I had ignored for a really long time. So it really was probably more than halfway through my second year of doing the trainings and learning the NLP techniques and modalities that it really like smacked me in the face. And I had realized that I had been running these same patterns over and over And it took me saying them out loud to a friend to bring that awareness. Like, I knew that it was happening, but I wasn't aware of it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Oh, it sure does.
So I was talking to her and I was like, oh my gosh, I would get this feeling, like this eager feeling of like, oh my gosh, my bottom is coming. I would wait for my bottom to come so that I could push off of that and do what I wanted to do. And so I could eagerly feel it in my body, like, this is coming. And I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for this bottom to come so I can finally do what I want to do. And then I'm like, wait, did I just say that out loud? Really? I'm waiting for my bottom to happen so I can do what I want to do. Why not just do it? Why wait for the bottom to come? And so that's when I was like, light bulb moment. And I was like, okay, graphic design is not my path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my calling, to help people overcome their sabotage, overcome their limiting beliefs, overcome that chatter in their mind, the negativity of beating yourself up when things aren't going your way, and pushing past it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I'm like, done. And I quickly made the transition because I didn't want to be repeating that program of waiting to do what I want to be doing. And so I just did it, and I'm doing what I want to be doing. And I'm so much happier, and I'm aligned, and I'm listening to my body and myself more, and my intuition, and it's guiding me on the right path. And it's amazing.
That's such great information that every one of us can hear. And it doesn't matter how many times we hear it, we still need to hear it, right? And when you speak it, like, talking with your clients, and even mentioning that is just a reinforcement to yourself, right? So it's okay to talk about that. And, again, when you hear yourself speak these things, it's more of a light bulb moment, as you put it, right? That wake up call when you actually hear what those thoughts were going on. It's like, wow. And like you say, you were waiting for the bottom to fall out so that you could pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and move again. It's like, wait a minute, I don't really have to crash and burn, do I? So that is a strong message here that you just gave this audience. Don't wait for the crash and burn to happen. Change it. If you're recognizing something that's not working, pay attention to that sabotage, element that's playing, and say, whoa, I'm the one in charge here. I can change it. Because really, in essence, nobody else can change it for you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, you were mentioning some other modalities that you do besides the NLP. Can you share a little bit about those?
Yeah. So I also do timeline therapy. So that's a holistic approach. It's working with your unconscious mind and digging to the root of the problem. So basically, I describe it as a filing cabinet. So the moment that your brain is formed in the womb, it starts creating memories stored in your filing cabinet or your brain. And so it's all of them are there. And so what this modality and technique does is dig through that filing cabinet or your memories and find the one that was the root cause. What is preventing you from moving forward that you have been unaware of for years? And we pull it out and we work with it because it's there. We just have to find it. And then we have to work through it. And most of the time, we're programmed to carry the negative with us. So in that event that we pulled out and we're working with, you have carried the negative part of that event with you your entire life up until now. And so what I do is help you find the positive in that event and carry the positive with you back until now. Because with every negative, there has to be a positive. It's a universal law.
Exactly, right.
So why carry the negative with you to have the negative still with you now? Find a positive and carry that with you. it's so much, it uses the same amount of energy to focus on that negativity that as the same as the positive energy, correct?
You know, and it's so much lighter when you're living in that joy and that happiness and that alignment, as you put it. Oh, you just feel good all the time because that negative stuff starts to weigh you down and down and down, right? And then you don't feel like doing anything. You don't even, you just don't even want to get out of bed sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah. So we kind of live in this cause effect world, right? So
right.
we tend to be in effect, like this person did this to me, or this happened to me, or my environment caused this. So we're blaming something, person, a situation, event, or something happening to us instead of taking ownership and finding out, why did this happen? Where did we sabotage ourselves? What negative energy were we putting out that brought it back to us? What mirror are we looking into, this person, event, situation, that's reflecting the lesson to be learned in that event?
Now that right there was a very, very powerful statement. So make that statement again so people really listen to what she just said here, because this is a game changer.
So as we're living in this cause effect world, and we're blaming these other people, situations, events for it happening to us, in reality, it's our mirror. What are we looking at, that person, that event, that situation, and what is it reflecting back to us to learn the lesson from so that we can move forward?
Wow. If you don't take anything out of this conversation or even out of this whole summit, I hope you got that message very strong, right? What is the reflection of? Because when, the eyes are the camera to the mirror of the inner self is what, I have heard, spoken, and I kind of take that to heart. So when you're looking at someone that is kind of irritating you maybe, or making you feel uncomfortable one way or another, or pushing some buttons that make you respond in an unhealthy manner, maybe we need to say it's not that person that's creating the trigger. They're just the mirror of something inside here that needs to maybe shift, like what you were saying, take it out of that storage bank and get rid of it, huh?
Yeah. Smash it.
There you go. Smash it. Because if you don't smash it, it's going to keep smashing you, right? I liked what you said, where this stuff just kind of jumped out and it just kind of smashed you and woke you up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't pay attention to those wake-up calls. And that is really critical on your alignment, right? And where you begin to find out your true assets and the true element of the spirit of who you are, right?
So as you were saying, how the sabotage, when the sabotage is occurring and you're unaware of it,
mm-hmm.
and it's a reflection of what's inside that we need to work on, and it's bringing up these negative emotions that we're feeling, that we've been carrying with us over time. The feelings of anger, feelings of sadness, feelings of hurt, fear, guilt, these negative feelings that we all experience. The sabotage is also just a mirror of what you need to heal and work on internally. So when you become aware of it, that's the first step, then you can work to smash it, to overcome it, to move forward, to build a different life, a different reality.
So true. And again, sometimes I think we're afraid to admit, that, wow, because again, we judge ourselves, right? It's that judgment is part of your sabotaging to beat yourself up, to say, I mean, oh my goodness, we say things to ourselves, like, oh my gosh, how could I be so stupid? Or, how could I not do this? How could I not see that coming? And, all of these things, right? It's called life and it's called experiences. But now you recognize it. What are you going to do about it? You can't live in it, but you can change it, right?
If we're part of the problem, we can't be part of the solution. So if we're part of the problem, we can't see it.
Right.
So we need somebody else, or in my incident, I was just talking to a friend about it, but it's been running through my head constantly in my mind and my thoughts, but I wasn't consciously aware of it until I said it out loud and heard myself tell her that I was sabotaging myself and running a program repeatedly over and over, and I was waiting for it to happen again so that I could do what I finally wanted to do.
And I think that's a strong message right there, Rachel. What you're saying is you heard yourself speak it out loud, and so sometimes we don't have someone we can talk to as a sounding board, so to speak. And it's okay, but you can be your own sounding board by speaking your thoughts out loud to yourself, right? Not just thinking them, as you said. Your thinking thoughts completely were different from your vocalizing and your hearing thoughts, right?
Yeah, it's that communication with self. Like, what is your unconscious or deep down? What is it, your intuition, wanting you to know that you've been like that, closing the door on for so long, and now it's like, ooh, you're listening. Okay, let's present this to you. Are you listening? Are you ready to hear? Are you ready to find the lesson? Or are you ready to grow? Yes or no? It's kind of like an onion. It keeps peeling, you work on this and then something else presents. It's because your body is, and your brain is like, oh, wow, you're listening. Let's keep doing this. New sabotage. Let's work on this one.
Right.
So it's an ever evolving onion that you get to work on, and you grow each step. You peel one off, and you grow and you move forward.
Did you find in your journey that the more you did it, the more you wanted to do it, just to see what else is going to come up?
I mean, it's. I'm more aware of when it's happening. I can identify it quicker, but it kind of goes back to, if you're part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution.
Right.
So if I'm not aware because I'm part of the problem, something needs to happen, either a person, or I need to say it out loud, or I see it in somebody else, for it to smack me in the face and be like, oh, okay, now I can work on it. Now I see it. Okay, I got it. That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you need something to happen that identifies it for you in some way for you to see it. You can't just be like, oh, what's next? Oh, what's next? I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I've never experienced that, but I guess it's possible.
Right. There's so many different ways and avenues, right, as what you were sharing, as to how we can begin to recognize what those sabotaging moments are. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And who knows? If you're the adventurous type, maybe you just want to set yourself up and just let people start tripping your trigger to say, whoa, is that inside of me or is that inside of them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And what is cool about being a coach and getting to help other people identify what they're sabotaging in themselves is that whenever I'm working with a client, I'm also working on myself as well. So they're being that mirror for the problems that I also need to work on and heal. So it's kind of like double, I'm working on them and healing them, but they're also helping me heal myself at the same time. So that's the cool part about being a coach and doing this work.
Right. That's so true. And because, we're all one, right? And there's only so many emotions out there and so many different events. The faces might be different, the places might be different, but the feelings are still the same, right? And so by helping each other heal, the whole world begins to heal, right? And so it becomes a joint adventure, really, in essence. And for me, I enjoy interviewing, and being a part of this summit, as well as listening to, different clients and people who are in the business, shall we say, that are coaches, that are healers, that are looking to help others, to give them hope, to be a part of that collaboration, and to watch the journeys and how many people's lives are influenced. And that's kind of what this whole summit is all about, is to really bring awareness to that self-sabotaging moment, to those hidden little stories that we just believed were just there because they were a part of us, but really in essence they're not. They're creating something that we don't have to have follow us, as you mentioned earlier on. You don't have to bring them with you if you don't choose to, right?
Yeah, you have the choice to accept or reject any labels that you give yourself or that other people give to you. We're born into a religion, right? And so I was born into the Catholic religion. And I learned very early on, I was probably like 7 years old, when I realized that I wasn't aligned with that religion. I do believe in God and a higher power and the universe and spirituality, but I wasn't aligned with the Catholic religion. So that's just something you're given. You don't have a choice at birth. And so to realize that wasn't aligned with me very early. And then at 14, I decided, I'm going to start searching for what is in alignment with me. And I'm still searching, what is aligned with me in that realm, in religion and spirituality. And I'm just kind of evolving there too, like an onion, just, finding new things that I believe in and kind of just going with that.
And those are some key words that you just said there. It's what am I aligned with? And to find what my truth and my belief is, right?
So you don't have to agree with that just because your parents gave it to you, or, society says so, or, that's what you do. Like, you have to be aware of your intuition that's going to guide you to your right path, what's a fit for you, what's in alignment with you, what's in integrous with you. And once you identify that, things just kind of fall into place because it's supposed to be that way for you.
Right. And then that takes you up to that point of judgment, which also is kind of antagonistic with sabotage, right? So when you can remove judgment of yourself, you can remove judgment of others. And then that turns around and gives you an opportunity to now honor yourself and honor others, right? Just because you're not in agreement doesn't mean you don't honor what their belief is, because that's their reality and that's their belief. And that's where the harmony and that alignment of everyone on the planet can take place, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, wow, this sabotaging thing can really bring up a lot of stuff, can it?
Yeah, it can. Thinking about judgment, we judge ourselves, and the cool thing is, for me, is going through this journey on my own and growing over the past few years. Since I've been changing, I'm starting to see people around me change. They're not doing anything different than they were before, but because I'm showing up differently, they're showing up differently. Either because I'm seeing them differently, or because they're seeing the change in me, and it's just that like reciprocate energy that it's like they're changing and they don't even know it.
That's the most beautiful thing about that one, because again, we're all connected, right? So when you're healing within, those around you, and again, it goes back into your perception too a little bit, right? How you perceived your world out here is different because you've cleared up old beliefs, right? And got rid of old sabotaging baggage that helps you to look and perceive others in your line of acquaintances differently. And like you said, not only do you look at them differently, but they're going to look at you differently, because your action and reaction, as you spoke earlier on here, is shifted, because you're not responding like you used to. And it's
Right.
like, wow, and that is what really helps everyone grow together as a community. And I think 2020's biggest lesson here is helping people to, shut down, stop, reset, and start taking a look at where these sabotaging moments are. And really, who are we? Where is it that we're going? What are our assets? Where have we been not only sabotaging ourselves, but maybe sabotaging those that are around us that were actually put there to assist that we weren't paying attention to, right? So, wow. This has been amazing. I could talk about this stuff like forever,
Yeah.
So, Rachel, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach you? I know we've got a little swag bag, and if you have an offer that you want to share with the audience,
Yeah, if they want to connect with me, they can shoot me an email, Rachel@empoweringgrowthcoach.com. I also have a private Facebook group. It's called the Growing You Forum. It's all about you and your personal development. So you can find me there and connect.
okay. And there's going to be lots of ways to connect through this summit as well, because you're going to have all of her information to be able to make and reach out to Rachel. If you're looking to smash all of that self-sabotaging, we are the self-sabotagers, but we are also the sabotage smashers, right?
Right.
All right. Any last information? One super morsel that you haven't already given. I mean, my goodness. Can you share that with the audience?
Let's see. Okay. Well, remember to be kind to yourself. And the number one person we lie to the most is ourself. So get really real with yourself and tune into your intuition so that you can smash your sabotage.
Wow, that's great. So the message here is stop lying to yourself, right? Lie to the world, but don't lie to yourself.
Exactly.
Rachel, thank you so much for being on this summit, and all this great information that you shared with us, and the work that you do is priceless. And we wish each and every one of you the best of 2021. Go out there and become a sabotage smasher.